If you broke the law, you got caught, you went to court and you got convicted, and you got sentenced, or you got your sentencing was scheduled for a few months later, do you think that you could call the judge, file a petition to the judge and ask the judge to delay your sentencing because you had a good job interview set up and you wanted to be free so you could see how that job turned out, or you were running for an elected position and you wanted to see how that election would go, so you needed to be free for that? How do you think a judge would honor your request? First of all, you probably would not be free because you, me, Lottie, and everybody else would be already behind bars waiting to be sentenced if we had been convicted of 34 felony counts. Okay. But if you happen to be free, I doubt that the judge would allow you to push back your sentencing date. Now, some people are even sitting in jail not because they've been convicted or not because they couldn't make bond, but because the judge did not allow them to get bond. They just unfortunately got charged and arrested, and they have to wait behind bars before they can be sentenced because the judge did not allow them to get a bond. All they did was get arrested and charged with that type of crime. So when I hear that Donald Trump's sentencing date for his 34 count fraud verdict has been postponed for a second time, it's confirmation. It's not a question that there are two justice systems in America. Let's talk about it. I'm Steffanie Rivers, and you're watching my journal. If you are not a subscriber, please join the team. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe so that when I post new videos, you'll be the first to know. Now, here's the question. What convinced Judge Juan Marchand and Manhattan District Attorney Alvin Bragg to agree that Trump's sentencing should be postponed? Now, after Trump's attorneys filed the paperwork, the DA's office didn't even put up a fight against Trump's request. Maybe they felt like they had done their job already. They had gotten him convicted, and maybe they think, well, it's just up to the judge to sentence him. But the job is not complete. It might have helped Judge Marchand to stick to the sentencing date that was already scheduled if the DA's office would have at least put up a fight or said, we want to stick to the schedule. But Judge Marchand found himself by himself having to make this decision to postpone or not postpone and stick to the schedule. Did somebody threaten the judge's family or him into postponing? I wouldn't put it past anybody. Now, the judge did not say that's what happened. Here's what the judge said. He presented I think it was a 3-page letter, essentially, that he wrote from or read from or had it posted. And essentially, the judge said that the reason he decided to postpone Trump's sentencing until after the presidential election was to not interfere with the election and to seem as impartial as possible. So here's the thing, though. For years, we have known that the presidential election is in November 2024. When the sentencing was scheduled for July, we knew the election was November 2024. When it was rescheduled to September, we knew the election was November 2024. So Marchand's explanation as to why he's now pushing it back to after the November election makes no sense, because we've been knowing that the election is in November 2024. Now, what about not interfering with justice? What about that? What about justice delayed is justice denied? What about that? Is it me, or is the criminal justice system starting to look like a green screen facade when it comes to holding some people accountable for their crimes? Criminal justice advocates, they're quick to remind us just how blind that justice is supposed to be, and that justice is. They are quick to say that nobody is above the law, but then people who are in charge of upholding the law go out of their way to bend over for people like Donald Trump. It's disgusting, and it's revealing. What is it revealing to me? Well, you know how New York has this tough persona. You know, we're tough, we're strict, we're unrelenting. They remind me of the movie The Wizard of Oz. Remember when we thought the wizard was this like huge entity, all-consuming entity, and then when we got a look behind the curtain, we realized it was a little man with a big microphone. That's all the wizard was. I'm getting Wizard of Oz vibes from the DA Bragg, and from Judge Marchand. Honestly, they seem more afraid to hand down the sentence to Trump than Trump is afraid to get the sentence. Now we're forced to wait until after the presidential election to see if the judge has the balls to sentence Trump to prison. And I'm not talking about a few months. I'm talking about at least a few years, because that is what he deserves for 34 counts, felony counts of a conviction. Okay. Now, there at this point, after the election, there will be no need to postpone Trump's sentencing anymore. That is, unless Trump wins the presidential election, then his sentencing will be rescheduled until the 12th of never. Either way, they need to take his passport, because he is not above fleeing if he loses the election. Now, we know what we need to do. So besides voting in November, we got some comments saying that the rumor is that he has been arrested and is in Guantanamo Bay. That who has been arrested? Bragg also in Gitmo rumors treason. The rumor is that he has been arrested. That who has been arrested? And you know, maybe they're in, what is that called, where you go, where you're under police cover and they whisk you off because you're, you know, to keep you from being harmed. I forgot what the term, I know what I'm talking about. But maybe that's what's going on, because again, I don't put it past anyone to try to make deadly threats against people, but somebody got to stand up for what's right and do what's right. Everybody can't be afraid of a man who is clearly has behavioral issues, who has been breaking the law, and who was found guilty. It's not like it is a speculation at this point. He's been found guilty numerous times. He is on trial numerous times for a reason. So somebody, if you want to be the judge, if you want to be the prosecutor, then you need to follow through as the judge and the prosecutor and sentence people when when it's time for them to be sentenced. Prosecute them to the fullest extent of the law. That's what it's all about. If they can't do that, then people of New York need to find somebody who can, and let's push on through. But at any rate, that's where we are right now. You know, and it just goes to show there's so many people, you know, looking at the school shooting that happened in Georgia. I think it was Wednesday or Thursday. You know, nobody wants to be involved in something like that. You certainly don't want your children to be involved in anything like that. But was it not the very next day that they had the 14-year-old who was accused and his father, who, according to reports, purchased the weapon despite the father knowing that the son had been under investigation for threatening people at school? Now, I don't know if this was threatening people from previous school years or last week, because school just started. It just started. So I don't know when the threats, but my point is they got them in court quick, fast, in a hurry. And not that I disagree, because I agree that they should be. And parents, I'm not a parent, but I believe that if we held more parents accountable for how their children behaved, especially to that extent, bringing a weapon and shooting and killing people at school. And I know there's, different ways we can look at that, because a lot of people are saying maybe that they were trying to get help. In this instance, I don't think the parents were that concerned because they purchased the weapon. But at any rate, don't want to get on that because that's a whole nother conversation. My point is that some people are just held to be accountable right fast. There's no question. And then there's people like a Donald Trump who can go on and on to the break of dawn, and nobody seems to be in a hurry to hold them accountable. And then when you are in a position to sentence them and hold them accountable, then for some reason they go out of their way to not do that. So we know what we have to do in November. Since everybody wants to wait until after November, we know as the American people who are registered to vote, if you haven't registered to vote, it's not too late. Go ahead and get registered, because this is, your chance to show them, okay, y'all want to wait till November? Let's wait till November. We're going to show you what we're going to do in November. That's what we need to do. To find out more about the things that I care about, you can go to the written version of my journal,